Hey, there we go. Let me see if audio is working. Yep. So, let me frame that up a little bit better. One advantage to our Epiphan breaking and us using this little, camera or little cell phone is setup is significantly easier. But maybe I shouldn't be allowed to set it up myself. How you doing, guys? Another Thursday Meatgistics live stream. Figured we do this, touch base. We've got a couple of things to talk about. As far as meat processing issues, I've got a few things I want to talk about, I've got a few more things over here. We had an interesting week. I took a couple of our customer service agents into the test kitchen this week to teach them how to do some stuff so that when people call up with questions, they can have a better understanding of what they're actually trying to support. Now, if you're calling our customer service line for a meat processing question, I would recommend you just go directly to Meatgistics for a couple of reasons. When you either get me, Austin, or any of the customer service people, you're gonna get the Walton's company answer. I mean, that's just the way it is. We have obviously company-wide opinions. We have things that we feel is the right way. But if you go on Meatgistics and either post your own question, which I still do think is the best way, or search through all the other posts, you're gonna get more people's opinions. You'll get people like Process Head, Tech77, T. Williams. All those people are there, ready to help you, ready to answer some questions. Chef is another one who does a really good job at trying to monitor the new posts and help people out. And we're going to get into what we're doing as a thank you for those people here a little bit later in the live stream. But first thing I want to talk about is this. So these are some summer sausages that I made on Wednesday. What day is it today? Thursday? Yeah, I made these on Wednesday. On Meatgistics, somebody was talking about their smoker had just broken, so they were looking for a way to thermal process without a smoker. I've done snack sticks from A to say W in a sous vide cooker before. I stuffed them, put them in a vac bag, and went ahead and cooked them. I started it at, I think, 120, and I stepped it up. I was really disappointed with the final product when I did that, so I kind of just left it. I never did any more research or testing on it. But the person who did this was saying that they had really good success with it, and they were really happy with the finished product. So I thought it would be a good idea to go back and give it another try. So I did that, and on these smaller ones, I did this in sous vide from start to finish. I started out at 120 for 30 minutes. I moved it up to 140 for an hour. Then I moved it to 160, and finally I finished it up at 178 until the internal temperature was 160 degrees. Right away, I mean, the biggest difference is you can see these casings are smoke permeable. There's a really big difference in the two sausages' appearance. That's because this one has A, had smoke applied, and B, had a drying phase. So this one was never had access to air, never had a way to bleed off some of that excess moisture. Go down a little bit. So it cooked in its own juices. Now, these are jalapeno summer sausage. We took the jalapeno summer sausage, we added 1 full shaker, which I think is 1.5 ounces or 1.2 ounces of dried jalapeno pepper flakes. We rehydrated those, and then we added all of that to a 22.5-pound batch. Person I was making them for or with really liked jalapeno flavor, so we figured we'd up it at that. We then added half and half of the ghost pepper cheese and the cheddar cheese. And from a taste aspect, those are awesome. They have a really good heat. I mean, you better like heat with ghost pepper and that extra jalapeno. One of the reasons I wanted to add the jalapeno pepper flakes, let's see if we can cut in and get a, there we go. For whatever reason, Excalibur's jalapeno summer sausage doesn't have chunks of jalapeno in it. Instead, it has everything finely ground up. Its snack stick does have the jalapeno pepper flakes in it. It seems to me like that is backwards. You would want the larger particle size in the summer sausage and not the snack stick. But I think what they're doing is they're giving the base for a jalapeno snack or summer sausage, and then you're able to control how much jalapeno pepper flakes you put in there. So it does make some sense. That's more of a commercial thing than a retail. But, I mean, that makes sense as most of Excalibur's products are designed for a commercial market. You benefit from that in some ways. You're getting the same quality seasoning as a Crable's or something like that. But there are little things like that, plus the 25-pound batches. So there's an upside and a downside to everything. That ratio, a full shaker of jalapenos to 22.5 pounds or 25 pounds, it's called 25 pounds, perfect. Worked really well. It's got a good jalapeno flavor. The heat between the ghost pepper and that is really nice. I'm thrilled with how these came out. Did an absolutely great job. And we added encapsulated citric acid, and then we added Sure Gel, which is what I add to all my cured sausage. The taste is, honestly, it's fine. It's the same without the smoke. It doesn't quite come across as much summer sausagey to me. In fact, my first bite of it, I actually thought like jalapeno breakfast sausage. But after having a few more, it tastes like summer sausage. It's just not as summer sausagey. But yeah, I was pleased with how this came out for sure. And hopefully we imparted some good knowledge in our customer service agents so they can help people out more. Let me check out real quick what's going on. J. Michael Kaminsky, hello. Hi, Steve. Hi, Dustin. Tex, good to see you again. And Papa Sop and Bob, obviously. So we've got some more meat stuff to talk about, but there's a few things I want to bring up. Number one, and this is Patrick's idea, he thought we need something to call Meatgistics users, because we're always saying, when Austin and I are talking, we're always saying the users, the Meatgistics users. He wants you guys to come up with a phrase for us to call you and for you to call you. Meatheads is the one I came up with. It's really basic. I'm sure we can put our heads together and get something better, more fun than that. John groupies, I don't know. I like that. Probably not going to fly, but I like that. Meatheads works well. It's kind of within the Meatgistic stuff, but I'm sure you guys will come up with something that's better than that. So post some stuff in chat. We'll open up a big thread on Meatgistics about it and let everybody kind of kick in their 2 cents, and hopefully we'll be able to come up with something and choose something here relatively soon. For what we're planning on doing for all the users who are helping everybody out, because honestly, Meatgistics has grown so much that, I don't have the time to answer all the questions like I used to. I used to answer almost every single question that came in. Now, when I get a chance to get caught up, most of the time, either the correct answer has already been given perfectly, or the user has been helped out in some way. So there's really, from a community management style, there's really not much for us to do on the board anymore, which is great. That's the goal of it, but I've said it a few times on Meatgistics. I'm starting to feel a little, not useless, that's the wrong word. not necessary is the wrong word also, like extra. And I don't mean that in like the, I don't know how to describe what I'm saying. It is a very good thing, I say this all the time, that I don't make my living talking, because obviously I can't do it. But if you've never noticed, Meatgistics has something called your post count. It's the number of posts, comments, anything you've made. We also have a reputation tracker, which is upvotes, downvotes. But we've decided to set a couple milestones, achievable, definitely very achievable ones for users. And then we're going to give you a physical thank you. We're going to have three. We're going to have three different levels to it. The first one will be when you reach 500 posts, and that will be your choice of a hat. And we are going to have your Meatgistics username embroidered on the side of the hat, so it will be personalized. I think initially we're going to do the blue, the orange, and I think the digital camo. I think those are the three ones we're going with. If it's not the digital camo, it's the gray one that Patrick wears all the time, which is right up there. But we will have the blue, we will have the orange. Oh no, I'm wearing an orange hat. You should try not to do that on live stream days, but oh well, you caught me. So that's just a really nice way for us to give you a physical thing to say thank you. Then at 1,000, which there are a couple people who are already at, we are going to do a very similar thing, but with a wooden cutting board. We're going to have your username and the Meatgistics logo lasered onto a cutting board. And then the final thing, this is somewhat of a prototype. This is not the knife we're going to choose, but we are going to have this chemical etching or whatever you want to call it of your username and the Meatgistics logo onto a knife. Now, this isn't the knife we're going to choose. We are going with a Victorinox chef's knife, I think the 8-inch one. This was just something we sent him to give him something to play around with. And again, it'll have your username and the Meatgistics logo, and that'll be at 1,500 posts. I'm pretty sure there are only 2 people, excluding myself, who are at that level. Austin is not one of those people, so this is the knife he's getting until he's at 1,500 posts. He can get this little off-brand knife. He can't get a full one. And then there's going to be this knife holder. So it's just a little wooden thing. You put it together. I quote unquote glued these. I put some liquid bandage on them, but we're looking at doing it in the Masonite. This is just the wood, and then we will paint those before we send them out in orange and black or orange and gray, something like that. We're doing this because, well, I mean, 1, we want to say thank you, and 2, we want to encourage you guys to continue using Meatgistics and helping each other out. That's really the whole point of it. It's what we started Meatgistics for. And you guys have done such an awesome job with it, taking off and running, helping each other. And now there are starting to be a lot of posts, or seems like there's a lot of posts that aren't even really meat processing related. So people are starting to expand what they're using it for. And in that frame of mind, we're looking at doing some stuff coming up that will allow you to get more functionality out of Meatgistics. We're not changing how it is. It'll still be 100% user-driven. Comments, questions, all of that will continue. But we're going to give you a little bit an easier way to upload some more of your creations. I don't want to go too far into it because we're very early on. We just discussed this the other day. But when we do have that, hopefully more of you foodies will upload more of your creations. I know that everybody gets a kick out of sharing A, what they've done, B, seeing what other people have done. Everybody wish Tex a happy birthday. I know, well, it's not his birthday today, but everybody wish him a happy birthday. It's right around the corner. A couple other things that I did during last week's live stream, which was the one from my home, which was a blast for me. I like that. Just got to smoke some meat and talk about meat processing. Somebody mentioned what would happen if you drizzled caramel onto jerky after it was cooked. So I've done that. We have a couple of problems here. Number one, I don't know if I didn't use the right caramel. I just got caramel little squares, melted it, and then tried to drizzle it on. Well, that stuff hardens back up really fast. And two, which is a bigger problem, is the taste. It's not good. I did drizzle some salt on there as well. That is the Walton's Tender Bowl Jerky, and I don't know if that doesn't lend itself well to this or if it's just a bad idea. I'm sorry, I can't remember who came up with it, but taste-wise, it is not something that I would recommend anyone do. So. Steve Winscott says, how about OG stuffers? I don't understand what that means. Like the original stuffers? I don't know. All right, Meatheads is already taken. Probably come up with something different. All right, already a meathead out there. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. Figured there would be. What cheese would you add to the jambalaya brat? Depends on what you want. Ghost pepper would be awesome with that, but the ghost pepper is awesome, but it has a tendency to dominate. It's great to add heat to something you want to add heat to, or kick up something like the gigawatt or the jalapeno to even hotter levels. But with something as unique as the jambalaya, you probably want something a little bit more mild. I would say cheddar or Swiss, probably. I wouldn't do the mozzarella. I'd probably do cheddar or Swiss. A boss. Oh, I don't think it'll be a block cutting board. I don't think it'll be like this. I don't have an example. I don't even think we have any wood cutting boards anymore. So we're going to have those sourced by the guy who's going to do all the lasering and embroidery. But here in the next couple of weeks, I'll start reaching out to people who are at that first level, that 500 level, and get your choice of hat and your address, and then we'll get them sent off. He'll go ahead and embroider them, and we'll get them to you. And then obviously we expect you to take pictures of yourself wearing it, or at least take pictures of the hat and post it to Meatgistics. Why did it hide that? David Keene, it hid your happy birthday message. Let's see if I can do this right this time. There we go. Last time I tried to show something, I hit it by mistake. Do egg roll brats. Somebody brought that up. I know Patrick was talking about that. I can't remember if he talked about that as a comment that somebody had posted on another live stream, or if he came up with that. But that sounds really good. I definitely do want to do that. With some of those weirder things, it's kind of hard to figure out what seasoning to use as your base. For an egg roll brat, obviously we would add some extra vegetables, and then have it wrapped in an egg roll, and in that whatever it is, some sort of papery type thing, and then deep fry it. And when you deep fry anything, it is absolutely amazing. Sorry, somebody is texting me. It doesn't stay up long enough. Sorry. Meat blockheads. That's not bad. Old grinder stuffers. How about OG? Oh, you're saying for a name. You're saying for a name. Gotcha. Okay. Meat blockheads. Toffee dust. I have a huge problem with toffee. My wife is an awesome baker. She bakes all the time, and she always gets Heath Bar, like the crumbles, for her cookies. I always eat all of it before she can do anything. I love Heath Bar. Probably my favorite of any candy bar. So that's a good idea. I don't know what jerky seasoning would work well with something sweet like that. Like the Walton's Bold has some good sweet, some good heat. We'd want something, I think at least, that would mostly already be sweet because we wouldn't want it to be warring with anything else. So real quick, just looking through the jerky seasonings, the Bold, I'm gonna say no to. Dill pickle, absolutely not. That would be terrible. Buffalo wing, same thing. Gigawatt, nope. Honey jerky seasoning, that might work. Colorado, not the spicy, but the regular Colorado, that might work too. That's a very, I hesitate to say basic because it is good, but a very like kind of standard jerky, so that might work. The barbecue jerky seasoning, that's got a little bit of like smoke to it, I always feel like. So I'm not sure how that one would be, but anything barbecue is always going to be super sweet. I was going over this with one of the customer service agents earlier today, but other than the obviously sweet ones like barbecue, salt is almost always the number one ingredient. Almost always. But as soon as you add barbecue to it, sugar is the number one ingredient. The like habanero mango, or not habanero mango, habanero barbecue snack stick and summer sausage seasoning, sugar is the number one ingredient in that by a long shot. And I think the bag for 25 pounds weighs like 5 pounds because it's mostly sugar to get that sweetness. Sweet doesn't always lend itself really well to meat products. There's a handful of them that I really like. The apple brat, which I made and we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, for the most part, it's either barbecue, and that's going to be a bunch of sweetness, or the apple are really the sweet ones I like. Cajun, that wouldn't be good with toffee. Bloody Mary, nope. Habanero lime, nope. Pepper and garlic, nope. Sweet chipotle jerky, that could work. What is, who asked that? What is toffee dust? Is toffee dust, what's the particle size on it? Is it something I could mix in while the meat's vacuum tumbling and marinating? Or would I have to put it on at the end? If you can answer that. Yeah, I would add shrimp to your jambalaya. The shrimp or the jambalaya wants ham, chicken. Does it want shrimp? Either way, I would add it. I added it to my boudin. It wants ham, chicken, rice, and maybe shrimp. I think shrimp. Meatgistical cooking crew. Gistical. Okay, so put it through a spice grinder. Yep, we could do that. We could do that. Any ideas on how much? I would think probably a pound would be more than enough for a 25-pound batch. And we don't want it to be like too sweet. The tender jerky we make is already fairly sweet. I had a batch, a 20-something pound batch, go in on Tuesday, and either a setting didn't get saved correctly, but it sprayed a bunch of water onto the jerky instead of atomizing the air, or real fine mist to increase the humidity. It seems like it was just spraying water onto the jerky. So I was not happy with that. I tried throwing it back in the smoker for an hour and a half on another drying cycle. And right out of the smoker, I was really disappointed with how it looked. Taste was fine, but appearance just wasn't there. But I've left it out for a couple hours, and it is doing really nice firming up. And it had I want to say like a leathery appearance, like an uncured leather appearance, and that seems to have gone away for the most part. So pretty happy with it now. Toffee is browned butter and sugar. Okay. Huh. Grind heads? meat blockheads, the grinders, Meatgistics grinders. I mean, that grinder's nice. It's got multiple things in it, like keep your nose to the grinder, obviously meat grinding, kind of like that. And then I also took one of my favorite bratwurst seasonings, which is apple brat, and made a cured product out of it. So we took, we put 2 pounds of cheddar cheese in this, and we used 15% more seasoning per pound of meat because there isn't the correct amount of salt in that apple brat for a cured sausage. In cured sausage, salt plays more than just a taste function. It's going to help solubilize the proteins. And sorry, I just found the actual camera on this phone, so I will start looking at that. I don't know if it's distracting or not, but it was distracting to me. So we upped the seasoning per pound by 15%. All we did was we took the batch size of that, which was, or the weight of the seasoning, which was 0.93175 pounds. We divided that by the batch size, which is 25. We then multiplied that by how many pounds of meat we had, and then we multiplied that by 1.15, and that gave us 15% more seasoning per pound of meat. Now, protein extraction is really important because it helps prevent the meat from fatting out during the smoking process. We laid these down on a rack instead of hanging them, so it's not quite as important. Your meat will still fat out if you lay it down and cook it either an incorrect smoke schedule or if you don't have good enough protein extraction, but it's not as big a deal with it laying out as opposed to hanging. One of the reasons for that is if you hang it and you get fat out, it's going to push its way out of the lean, the meat, and get caught between the casing and the meat. That's going to give you a couple of bad things. One, it looks disgusting. Two, it doesn't do the casing any favors, especially if you're using collagen casings. It basically is cooking the casing in fat as you're smoking it. So it tends to get like a rubbery texture to the casing. I've been doing mostly cured or mostly, what are they? They're tubed hog casings when I've been doing bratwurst recently. But for this, I did the 32 millimeter clear collagens, and they worked excellently. I mean, you can't even really tell there's a casing on here other than these tiny little bits that opened up at the end. For those of you who haven't used collagen in the past, its main advantage is you pull it out of the package, you put it on your stuffing tube, and you start stuffing. It requires zero preparation. It's good to go. Its biggest downfall is this. Let's see if it'll adjust to that. When you link them, after you cut in between the links, it opens back up. It does not accept a twist, at least with retail pieces of equipment. On something like a vacuum stuffer, you can get that to stay closed. They have an attachment that goes on the end of the stuffing tube, and it spins it so fast and so hard that it will stay closed. But at home, you're not going to have anything that's going to have that ability. So I always get super thirsty during these. Whoa. But I was very pleased with how these turned out. So 15% is the correct amount to use extra if you're wanting to make the apple brat into a cured sausage. Same thing is going to go if you wanted to take the apple brat and make it into either a summer sausage or a snack stick. For the most part, the difference between a snack stick, a summer sausage, and a cured sausage is the casing you put it in. There is also some differences in your smoke schedule, because of the differences in diameters, obviously we're going to want to smoke this a little bit differently than we would want to smoke a 19 millimeter snack stick. Same thing with a 32 millimeter collagen casing. But up until that point, the processes are exactly the same. You want to grind first through a 3/8, then through a 1/8. Anytime Papa Sop is on these, as I'm thinking 1/8, I panic and I almost say 1/16, because he pointed out I did it twice in one video. But yeah, do that. Then you get add your ingredients, get protein extraction, stuff them into the casing of choice, and you're good to go. Yeah, I mean, the real differences are between fresh, which is a bratwurst, an Italian, something like that, and a cured sausage. Once you're in those categories, process is very, very similar. Meatgistics processors or smokers. Processors, not bad. Just call them the processors. Smokers has probably too many negative connotations with it for most people. Yeah, but I like processors. That's pretty good. How do you feel about dry aged and wet aged meat in cured sausage? As far as wet aged, I mean, not everything. Most things are going to be wet aged anyways. As soon as you started dry aging something, I wouldn't add it to a sausage. I mean, you've added enough value at that point where I would say consume it as you normally would dry aged meat. But maybe we're talking about pork instead of beef. I don't know. If you're doing a dry aged sausage, then maybe we'll talk about it, because that is more artisanal. We might look for a little bit more of a special ingredient to use. Hopefully, we're in the process of hiring a web coordinator. When that gets in, I'm hoping I will have enough time to finally follow up and do some videos and some content on dry aged sausage, because I'm a huge dry aged sausage fan. I mean, I love dry aged pepperoni, salami, anything like that. Chorizo, absolutely adore it. Made it a few times here. We didn't feel like we had the expertise to go ahead and make a video on it at that time, but hopefully that will change this summer. We've got a lot coming up this summer, bunch of things to do, and I think a bunch of them will be good. Ooh. Meat makers. I like that. All right, so I like, so far I'd say processors, meat makers, grinders. Those are all good ones. Huh, I like those. And we will go ahead and open up something on Meatgistics, a post, a thread, let people kick in their 2 cents who aren't here with us today. Speaking of Meatgistics, there are a couple new features that I don't know if either A, aren't catching on, or B, if people aren't really aware of them. You can create a topic now, or change a topic you created to a question topic. So if somebody was logging in and they wanted to know why their collagen casings were bursting as they were stuffing them, they could make that a question. Then, out of all the answers they get, they select the one that they think was the correct answer, and that gets moved up. It stays where it is, and it gets moved up and put right underneath the question, and it's marked as the correct answer. I think it puts like a green border around the outside of the text box to point out that that is the one that's been selected as the answer. It's a great tool. I think it's especially useful when we start talking about things being or questions being asked time and time again. I was talking to somebody about this earlier today. I think the people who use Meatgistics a lot and make a lot of sausage, we feel like if an answer is right for one thing, it's going to be right for most things. But if I have a article or something out there talking about making summer sausage with fibrous casings using X, Y, and Z ingredients plus Sure-Gel, and this person's doing all the same things except they're using Superbind, they might think that completely changes everything. So I don't want to discourage people from asking questions. Process Head, T. Williams, Tex, and a bunch of other people, we were having a discussion on whether we should start pushing people to search more before they post a new question. I don't know. I can see it both ways. I really like people being able to come to Meatgistics, ask their question, and get an answer that's, specific to their question. Tex has been doing a good job recently trying to help people find their own answers by sending them links to articles. For me, I definitely learn something better when I have to find the answer a little bit myself, as opposed to if I'm just told something. If I'm just told something, I'll usually use it that time and then lose it. But if I have to fight for that knowledge a little bit, it definitely does help it stick in the head. What does that say? The Masters of Worst? Something came up. It's not in the chat yet. The Masters of Worst? That's not bad. Charcuterists? I mean, I like that, but charcuterie is a really specific type of meat processing. I love charcuterie, but that wouldn't really encompass everything. Best hog casing edibility is straight out of the smoker. It breaks with a nice snap. Okay. I've used hog casings for smoked sausage before, though, and had them when they're not right out of the smoker, they can be really tough, like chewy in point of fact, instead of really nice and snappy. What casing to use is definitely a matter of personal preference. It's the same thing with taste. It's so subjective. Everybody has their own opinion. Some people like a lot of snap on a snack stick. Some people don't. We were helping somebody on Meatgistics the other day who was having problems with their snack sticks, and they were intentionally doing things to get that really wrinkled look. For, I think, most of us, we would prefer a perfectly smooth snack stick. So, I mean, what are you gonna do? Carrot fiber holds 26 times its weight in water. I guess you were poking me. Did I make that mistake as well at some point? Chef Raul says the Salumist would be a formal name. We would have to teach Orange Team how to spell it. Yep. Those orange people, they're not the best spellers. Yeah. Ryan, one of the things that we're planning on opening up to Meatgistics and allowing users to do, we have to have our own plan, or a separate plan for Nick Hall. He's a fun guy, like him, enjoy him, but yeah, definitely has a little bit of a crass sense of humor, to say the least. I'm going to grab some water. I'll be right back. Another thing I've been wanting to do is I want to do a comparison side by side of wrapping products in prosciutto and bacon, and then doing them side by side and seeing what people prefer. So far, I'm planning on doing scallops, shrimp. I'm on a huge seafood kick. I've been making like a shrimp scampi type of thing every other day. So let me know, like, what else should I do? I don't want to do fillets just because they're so ridiculously expensive. So give me some other ideas on stuff I can wrap bacon and prosciutto around. You went with whiskey. That must be in regards to something I missed. Luke Pellegrin asks, what temp does meat fat out? So fat's going to really start to render 120 to 140 degrees in that range. That doesn't necessarily mean that temperature is not the only factor there, though. How quickly you get your meat up into and then around that temperature, that's a huge factor. Stepping it up slowly definitely does help out. But generally, fat will start to fat out and render at around 120 to 140 degrees. Asparagus and prosciutto, yeah, for sure. Love asparagus, especially put some ultimate steak and roast rub on it. I'm trying to think of what else I really have to talk about. I don't have much. I did really think that the difference in color of these was fairly amazing. Another issue I had with this, as you can see, it's not that well rounded. I didn't pull a full vac seal on that because I was afraid it was going to crush it even more. But as you can see, it definitely didn't give me like a really nice round product. It's oval, but looks more like a bologna than a summer sausage. And it definitely has a different texture as well. Summer sausage, snack stick, those are semi-dried products. This didn't have any type of drying schedule to it, so has more of a wet-like texture. Now you could then go through and throw that in dehydrator, but why do that? That's what I did with the snack sticks that I went right into sous videing with. I eventually laid those out in a dehydrator and went ahead and I think it was 6 hours I dehydrated them for till they were finally as dry, but they weren't as they would be out of the smoker. But again, at that point, why do that? Just go with the smoker. It's a quicker finished product. Sous videing definitely has its place, 100%. I often will finish things up sous vide if I'm using the PK, or I haven't done it with the Camp Chef yet, I don't think. And things just seem to be taking a lot longer than I would like them to, especially on a thicker diameter like summer sausage. I will pull that at 130 degrees and finish it up in sous vide water every time. Cuts hours off your processing and probably gives you a better product, to be honest. After 130 degrees, like after your summer sausage or whatever you're doing has reached an internal temperature of 130 degrees, it's not really going to accept any more smoke. It might get a little bit more color development, but it's not really going to accept any more smoke flavor. And at 130 degrees, you can add it directly to the water. You don't need to put a vac bag around it, so you're not even costing yourself vac bags. When you want to temp it, if you don't have a waterproof temp or thermometer, you just pull it out, stick it in, temp it, and put it right back in. So there really isn't a downside to finishing up summer sausage or any larger diameter product in sous vide. I've done it pork butts a few times now. With those, definitely put that in to a vac bag. Don't just put a pork butt in the water. It'll ruin your bark. It'll mess with the meat pretty bad. Plus, when you're cooking a pork butt, we want that up to like 190 degrees, 195 degrees. At that temperature, no matter how careful you are with it, the fat is going to melt and run. So. Steve, yeah, I mean, for sure, but at 130 degrees, you've already developed, if you've cured your product, you've already either developed enough of a smoke ring, or like this, it's kind of hard to see the color of this, but this has a really nice pink all the way throughout. And that's because with apple brat, I didn't think a tang would complement that, but I wanted to smoke it today. I was processing it this morning and I wanted to smoke it today. So I added sodium erythorbate. Sodium erythorbate is its main purpose is a cure accelerator, but it also does an awesome job with color development. So if you don't like, where is it? If you don't like a tang and you want to go directly to the smoker and you're making sausage, sodium erythorbate and something like this Ascali, which will measure in fractions of grams, is an awesome tool to have. 7/8 of an ounce of sodium erythorbate is enough to accelerate the cure on 100 pounds of meat. So to find out how much or how much sodium erythorbate you need to divide 7 by 8 and then divide that by 100. That'll give you how many ounces to add per pound of meat. Then obviously you need to multiply that by 28.3 because you want it in grams. You don't want to be trying to get a fraction of an ounce of sodium erythorbate. Really powerful stuff. My uncle got his venison summer sausage back, and it's wet. Let it sit out in the fridge, out of the package for a couple of days, and it's way better. Yep. A really wet summer sausage, even in a fridge that is probably like 40-something% humidity, will continue to dry out. And that's an important thing to get. When I was in my 20s, I started really liking playing around with broken things and seeing if I could fix them because, hey, it's already broken. I can't really hurt it anymore. So it takes some time to get to a comfortable level with meat processing where you feel like you can try things to either fix a mistake or to get a different outcome. But with something like that jerky where I feel like the water was being sprayed directly on it, why not do something with it? Why not throw it back in there and see what's going to happen? Water activity is already low enough where I know it's safe and it's ruined already. I mean, it wasn't. Taste was great. It was just a bad appearance that I was trying to fix. So yeah, why not try things? No, 55 gallons. Yeah, no, that's way too big. The VacMaster one that we either used to or still do, I think 8 gallons. Let me see that. Yeah, you would need multiple sous vide units for that because even the commercial style ones, which the SV1 isn't going to do 55 gallons. It will do, yep, 7.9 gallons of water is what that one would heat. So 55 gallons, you'd either need multiple of those or some other unit. Some sort of turkey fryer might work for that. It's going to take some testing. You're going to have to figure out like what setting to put it on to stabilize that amount of water. But yeah, it absolutely can work. Turkey fryers, the roaster pans I've seen a lot of people use. I've added the 2 of the Weston little sous vide units to a meat lug and then covered it with something so it's not losing a bunch of heat and moisture, and those stabilize pretty well. I've found that, so pretentious, I found that 178 is the best temperature for summer sausage and 172 for snack sticks. Obviously the difference in diameter makes a difference, or is the reason for that difference. But I did do a bunch of testing, and above 180 it seemed like I was getting some fat out, even though I know I had good protein extraction. That's why I backed it down a little bit and settled on 178 for that. Um, come on, computer. Magical meatery tour. I like that. That's pretty good. One other thing to think about there, when we're pulling things out of the smoker at 130 degrees. 130 degrees also happens to be the temperature that encapsulated citric acid that encapsulation starts to melt at. If you were to pull it at 130 and didn't leave your summer sausage in that water for at least an hour, you might not fully melt that encapsulation. So you might end up with like a dry, kind of crumbly white product around the edges. That encapsulation is oil, so it tends to get pushed out fairly quick. But then if it doesn't fully melt, it does kind of reform. I can give you like a white, dry, crumbly appearance on the outside. It shouldn't really hurt anything other than that. The fact that it doesn't look terribly appealing. And I mean, obviously I'm doing my best to save a batch of jerky for appearance. I mean, appearance of your meat product definitely does matter, especially if you're showing it to other people, letting people try it. It definitely matters. 100 pounds of snack stick once a year, and it's a killer to get them to the finish line. Justin, I assume you're talking about like the sous vide thing. Do you do them all at once, or do you do like different smoke schedules or like different smokers, different times in the smoker? If you're doing them all at once, you must have a heck of a smoker. 100 pounds of snack sticks is a lot of snack sticks. If you had a way to finish that up, get them to 130, and then get them in the sous vide, that would be awesome. Another reason that 130 degrees is a really good temperature is that that's really where we're going to start fighting the stall. The stall is, with any meat product, when we're cooking it, the water is going to start pushing to the outside of the meat. It's going to start to expel the meat, or expel the water. It's going to get on the surface of that and then evaporate off. As it evaporates off, it's just like what happens when you sweat. It's going to cool the meat, and it's going to take it longer to cook. The ways past that are increase the heat, which isn't always a great idea, wait it out, which is what most people do, or increase the humidity. If you don't have a smoker that will increase the humidity, an easy way to get the humidity to 100% is to actually finish it in water. And that is 100% humidity. Nothing can evaporate off if it's totally encompassed in water. Yep, pop a stop, add to water, for sure. I assume you're talking about the sodium erythorbate. We did it earlier today. I think we used 3.9 grams, and we added it directly to water. Normally, when I'm doing a cured product, I don't worry about adding the cure to water. I mean, it's kind of like 50-50. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Because we're going to do so much mixing that should be evenly distributed throughout. Sodium erythorbate, though, is such a small amount that I do worry about it not getting perfectly evenly distributed. So I will add that to water. And since I'm already doing that, I'm adding the cure to that water too. Just makes it nice and easier. And I wish that we had our normal camera for this, because these really did burn a really nice pink, and that is in part thanks to the sodium erythorbate. So, and we'll be back eventually to live streams with our normal camera. We're just looking at some different options. Thing that we had, which is this little tiny thing called a webcaster, that broke 2 weeks ago or something, 3 weeks ago. God, time flies. So we're just looking to see if there's a better option than just replacing that, something that'll give us some more functionality. Mike, no problem. I believe these are, they stay on our YouTube page. In fact, they have dominated our YouTube page. Like, if you go to our main YouTube page and go to videos, it's pretty much all live streams and podcasts of some sort or another. We don't think that's a huge problem because we don't think a lot of people do that. I don't. So let me know, do you go to our YouTube page and click on videos and find what you want, or do you use the search function? We assume you use the search function, so we're not overly worried about it, but wait, Papa Stop, where's John Belvedere? I don't see him. Ah, there goes the magical meter tour. Yes, I like that one. Meatists, kind of like artists, but meatists. Yeah, we'll have to think of some things. There are a couple really good suggestions, though. I cannot speak today. Probably because I didn't sleep last night, but what else? I've got a plugin installed onto Meatgistics that's gonna give at least me initially the ability, and maybe eventually everybody, to more easily link from Meatgistics to Walton's quicker. So currently what I have to do is I put brackets around the word, then parentheses, and then I can put that link inside those parentheses. But that means every time I want to do a link, I have to go find that product on Walton's and grab that link. What we're going to have now is one special character, and I don't even know what its actual name is. It's the large vertical line. And then after that, I can start typing in, like for garlic and pepper jerky, I'll start typing in that character, garlic, and it's going to show me a drop down of all of the links that we've created that have that word, that begin with that word. I can then just select it and move on. So it'll be much easier to link things from. The problem is we have to create that database. So I'm going to have to either myself or more likely find somebody, a new employee, to go through and create that database for me of every product, every link. That will be stored on Meatgistics. Much easier way to go ahead and link to products on waltonsinc.com. There is also a hashtag, like a tag system on Meatgistics. You can tag things that you want to remember, or if you really loved a recipe and you want to like hashtag favorite, so that you can go search those tags later. We broke that earlier this week or late last week, so that's down right now. You can't use it, but it is a cool thing that you're able to do that I don't think a lot of people are either aware of, or just maybe it's not a value add. I'm assuming if you're joining us for these weekly Meatgistics live streams that you do have your location listed on your profile. If not, definitely recommend you go do that. It's fun to go to the map. At the top of the Meatgistics page, there is obviously home, recent, popular, unread, which is where I spend most of my time. Users, I spend a lot of time in there too, trying to delete spammers. Groups, and then map. That map will show you a map of the world, and we are worldwide now. I think the only continent we don't have is South America, and either Antarctica or whichever one of those isn't actually a continent. But we've got people in Asia. We have South Africa. We've got Australia, Europe. So we have users all around the world, obviously mostly within the United States. But so if you don't have that information on your profile, go ahead and add it. It's a great way to find other people in your area. I know Parksider, who was one of the original users, actually invited a guy up, and he came up to his location, and they did some processing together. So I think the map is broken at the moment. That's probably because I'm having NodeBB, who hosts it, look into that hashtag problem. Yeah, looks like connection. So they probably just restarted Meatgistics, so the map function isn't working at the moment. But it should be shortly. That also probably means anybody who is watching on Meatgistics just got kicked off. Yeah, not having the pop-out chat drives me nuts. I like that so much more. And somebody told me how to do it, and I have forgotten. So if anyone remembers how I can get the pop-out chat back for live streams, I really liked that. Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy the podcast and the live streams, that's an easy way to see all of them. The downside is there's a lot of those. They dominate. Like it's tough to find the Meatgistics University stuff. Not that we do fun little Willet barbecue videos or anything anymore, but hard to find those. We try to organize everything into some playlists, but that also gets a little bit unwieldy. We are hoping here somewhat soon to get back into some more fun videos. We really do enjoy the recipe for disaster. We've actually made some cool stuff that way. I think we've only had 2 things that I would consider a disaster. But we've done everything from gummy bear brats to hot dogs with peanut butter and jelly. We did a tofu brat, which I will never release. It was god awful. I'm not even somebody who hates tofu, but that was god awful. It was maybe the worst thing I've ever made, not just here, but like in my entire life. It was so bad. It was disgusting. And obviously the Willet barbecue stuff. Austin and I will try to get to some more of those, or at least do some fun stuff like that during live streams or podcasts, because we loved that stuff. It was a lot of fun. But all right, if nobody has any other questions, I'll hang around here just another minute or two. For ND Mike, earlier, I won't ruin it for you. If you go back and watch, we're planning on doing something pretty cool for a bunch of the Meatgistics users who have certain post counts. And that's not like a one-time thing. So as people achieve those post counts, we will periodically go through and extend that same offer to anyone who gets it. So. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad people are finding a use for the podcast. I know that Austin's voice can put people to sleep. It's very boring. Not mine, though. All right, guys. Thanks. Did I just hit? How do I do this? There we go. Oop. Thanks, Pops Up.